Hello, Global Theater. My name is Jerry Fielka. Today is, wow, I didn't write the date down. Well, Jett, you're going to have to help me. What is today?
February
February,
16th.
Feb 16. We want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast. I'm probably wrong about everything. Tune in. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with Jett Turner. Jett, where are you calling in from?
I'm calling from Denver, Colorado.
How cool is that? Well, the first question's easy. What's the best thing for a human being?
The best thing for a human being. Oh, well, my immediate thought was sleep. But then my second afterthought was love. So those are the two that first come to mind.
That you summarize. Love is the answer I get the most. And like 2 days ago, the guy said sleep. So
Yeah.
that is beautiful. Well done. And I like that. Your first thought. What this is about is your hunch, your impulse. Your first thought's good, but if you think a little more and you take your time, that's totally cool. We're just having fun. The second question is what's your favorite form of information, how it comes into you?
Mm, my favorite way to receive information is through friends, for sure.
So we call that direct experience. But do you mean through them in person or on a Facebook feed or it doesn't matter like the form. So through friends is good, but suss it out a little more. What's the form? Like handwritten notes or
Uh, Mostly face-to-face conversations.
yeah.
Usually, I think you get more in depth in conversations one-on-one. So I think one-on-one, face-to-face conversations. And I will say that I think phones do um, make up for that lack of face-to-face. If you are, it's a time when you can't, be right in person. Like, I mean, even here, I think we're not, in person right now, but I still feel like it's a it's a it's a good enough substitute.
It is, and it's amazing because it's basically live TV. I mean, that started in 1950s in New York City, but we don't have to set up these big cameras and have lighting and directors. I mean, it's quite amazing. We have television, telephones right here. So, why do you think humans collect or gather information?
I believe they collect and gather information um, because once our basic needs are met, like we have shelter, we have food, or we are in a situation where it's as good as it's going to get, and it's not like we can go out and hunt. We don't need to go hunt right now. We don't need to go gather. You're just kind of sitting there, and when you get that to that moment of being comfortable in life where your needs are met as well as they can be, um, then we get a little bit more curious about, okay, well, what do I do with my time? What am I um, passionate about? So I think it's just naturally what comes as we are become more comfortable and our needs are met.
Well, you must have ESP because you kind of answered the next question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Is this need or want to collect information more innate or more invented?
I would say definitely innate for sure.
Yeah.
We all want to know, where we are we're going. We all have, as humans, we all have similar questions that we ask ourselves for sure.
Yeah.
Where are we going? What's going to happen? You know, so I think we just naturally, innately have that.
Yeah. Do thoughts create emotions?
Yeah. They do think they do create emotions for sure. Yes.
Fill in the blank. I don't know what I think until I.
I am in a clear state of mind.
Nice. Can humans think without language?
Yes, for sure.
Chomsky says that a language is not just words. It's culture, a tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. Jet, what do you do when language breaks down, when it doesn't work?
First thing I do is use what resources I can. So use my hands, draw pictures. I'm mostly thinking of like there's a language barrier is what's coming to mind mostly for me. Um, and there are moments where you can't use your words, where you're with a friend and you need to communicate something without speaking, and you can't use words at that moment. Um, so there's eye contact, eye movements. There's postures. There's signals you can do with your hands. You can get more physical. So really, you just have to get more creative with your way of communication.
I like that. Gesture and eye contact, those were really good. Guy said a couple weeks ago, "What do you do when language breaks down?" He goes, "Group hug."
That's funny.
I thought that was good.
I always like a group hug. So
Yeah. So do you think your observations of humans, I know it's both and it depends, but your inclinations, are humans more thinking beings or more feeling beings?
I think they are more feeling beings for sure. I think we're naturally more feeling, like that's just what we are, that's our essence. But then the human part of us is the thinking part. That's what I believe.
Nice. 2 questions from Alan Turing in 1950. Is thinking a function of the soul?
Yeah. Um yes, it is. I believe so. Yeah.
His second one was, can machines think?
Huh. Think. Well, I think they can do things that are similar to thinking, like process information, which is similar. So they mimic
Yeah.
thinking. They mimic thinking for sure,
That's
and they do it
that's
well, and they do it better than us
that's
sometimes.
good. Yeah. Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
I feel like I really do kind of appreciate my age and like where I am in life, and I think in a way, like right now specifically, I am I lean more towards happiness than meaningfulness. But I definitely could see myself in the future switching gears and looking more for meaningfulness for sure.
What, how old are you?
24. I turn 25 next month.
Great, man. It's great to have a young person here. So, this question is about the brain. Does the brain more detect consciousness or create consciousness? And again, it is like it sounds like neuroscience, but it's just your hunch. Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're detecting it, or are we creating it?
How did you phrase that question first? The first way I understood a little better.
Yeah. Does the brain more detect consciousness or create consciousness?
The way my brain thinks of it, the way I think of it, and because I have a hard time relating to those two, just that's for some reason in my head. The way I think of it is actually that like consciousness is aware of the brain, is how I see it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, the consciousness is aware of the brain, but
Right.
is the consciousness there? like sort of Jungian collective unconscious? Is it out there separate from humans and we're detecting it, or is it actually creating the brain? Or I mean, are we actually creating the consciousness? Is our brains creating the consciousness, or is it there on its own?
I think it's there on its own for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see.
Hmm.
What's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
Ooh, that's I see. I don't. I never have. I've never heard of the speed of thought being measurable. Um, so that's my only worry is that my lack of information there because I don't. I'm not sure that you
Again,
can.
but again, it's just your guess. What's your
I know,
guess? Like,
I know. I'm just curious to see if I'm missing information that it can be measured, but I don't. I maybe it could be measured somehow, but speed of light or speed of thought. My hunch would be like the speed of the thought
there's
because
no, yeah, yeah, there's no right or wrong answers to any of
yeah.
these questions, but that one you got right, Jet. Bingo.
Okay. Cool.
No, I'm just joking. Who knows, you know. So there's a poet, Audre Lorde. She says you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. Yvonne Rainer responded to her and says, you can if you expose the tools. My question is what new tool do you suggest, or what new tool are you attracted to these days? And I'm going to ask some of my questions with these cute quotes before. It doesn't mean you have to apply them. You can put every question into the context you want, but it's basically, you know, in order to dismantle the master's house, Audre was saying you got to use the master's tools, you
Hmm.
know. And then the other, her peer said, no, you got to expose their tool. So you know this because you're a bit of an activist. You know how they use these tools and what tools you can use.
Right.
I mean, the whole Free Britney movement was amazing because you guys knew how to use the tools, which
Right.
meant
Right.
poster boards, standing out on the street and getting your face in the news. And
Mhm.
then a whole lot of social media on the side. But there was some real on the street, you know. So, I mean, you can apply it to that, but what tool do you suggest in your regards to whatever your pursuits are that you gravitate to now? And you can, you know, I say new tool, but it doesn't have to be a new tool. It's just like, you know,
Hmm. I would say a new tool that I've been attracted to lately is being competitive with myself. That's how I've been lately. I'm not necessarily saying it's the best way to always be, but that's what I've been attracted to lately for sure. Um, and when you quote it, it makes me think of things like the patriarchy and the toxic parts of that and toxic masculinity
yeah,
and as well as um, like the huge wage gaps and the people living in poverty and how that relates to wage gaps and those financial structures, like trying to dismantle those things and also um, just destroy them. But I mean that not that that's like actually possible. It's just like more of like an intention, because I mean there'll always be those things. You just kind of want to even out the playing field, you know. Um, but my thought is part of me always thinks I want to become wealthy so that I can create change in the world and be able to fight people in power who are corrupt in industries like oil, different types of industries, things like that. But then at the same time, like you said, expose the tools, use things like activism, use things like social media, writing, public conversations like this right now on this platform, like using those things to diminish, inequality. So That's what I thought of when you said
Really well put. We're going to get into that a lot more, but just let's go on with the script here. What new toy do you suggest? Not necessarily to dismantle the master's house, just in general. Someone suggested this to me a couple months ago. Instead of asking tools, say, well, what new toy do you suggest?
Are you talking about what to purchase? Are you just saying purchase?
No, I'm saying you can, and again, you put in the context you want. I mean, to some people, a toy, there's many things that could be a toy. I mean, of course, a toy, we think of toys as like you go to a toy store and buy them, but I mean,
Right.
like the guy yesterday was a juggler and he says, what new toy do you suggest? He goes, I've always loved juggling. And that was like great because you don't think of juggling as like a tool.
Right.
It is a sport in a way, but it leans towards I mean, toy implies something playful.
Mm.
Tool doesn't always imply something playful. It's more practical.
Okay, so you're just talking about a fun activity, like a fun hobby,
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Do you mind giving me some more examples?
Look, and we'll go on. It's no big deal. It's just
Yeah,
like
what part? Are you just saying like something that like brings me like good energy?
yeah,
Well, I mean, I dance a lot, so that
that's
really brings
good.
me. I
Yeah,
yeah
that's good. Yeah,
yeah.
toy is
Say that.
is the toy is the dance floor.
Well,
The
okay,
dance.
it's just, and
Yeah.
since I'm here for free Britney and stuff like that, the Britney Spears Black album. That just listen to that. One of her best albums. If anybody's ever interested in Britney Spears, that's a toy. That's a nice toy.
That's a toy. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
No, I love that moment in that uh what's it when James Cameron or James, whatever his name is, drives the stars in his car and they sing together.
Yes. Carpool karaoke. Yep.
Carpool karaoke, and he asked Brittany, like, what does this song mean? And she goes, it's just a song, dude.
Right.
That it is
Right.
it's so cool because he wants to psychoanalyze her, like, oops.
Right.
And she just goes, hey, it's just a song. And I love that playfulness. That was
Right.
really cool.
Yep.
What do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
Hmm. Oh, that's kind of sad, but I'll just be honest. Like, eh, I've grown up in a very kind of vain family. So honestly, like I worry about, my appearance a lot before bed. Worry about, conflicts in the schedule. I'm a pretty busy guy. So, and then I worry about, how many hours I'm going to get and how I'm going to feel waking up the next day. Um, so I guess it kind of sounds a little selfish, but those are the that sounds
Don't
like self-centered, very self-centered.
don't worry. The beauty is that we're just having fun and you're opening up, and I'd rather you be, lay your cards on the table. So I'm
Right.
not, it's not. But here's an interesting question. Marshall McLuhan's a pop philosopher who learned from a poet that artists are the antenna of the race. They're broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions so that we can learn to cope with what we don't like. So, the whole thing of dancing to pop music is evident. You get exercise and you're with your friends, but there's almost hidden psychic effects that we don't even know that is happening. Not that they're good or bad, but it's just like there's deeper levels to everything. And
Right.
so McLuhan's main question is we can turn to the artist, the musicians, the painters, the poets, and they will expose these hidden psychic effects to us, but we still ignore them. Why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects, the deeper meaning, even though artists are broadcasting them to us?
Hmm. Lack of mindfulness. Lack of
La-
mindfulness.
Mindfulness, yeah.
Mindfulness. Yeah.
Suss out what that word means because that's a pop word that gets thrown around a lot. What is mindfulness to you?
Hmm. Mindfulness is flexing that muscle in your brain that controls awareness. and just your ability to be aware, period, I believe. And the opposite would be autopilot, when we're more so not focused on the moment and that muscle of awareness. So I feel like people don't remind themselves to be aware that they're getting these little their subconscious is being stimulated, because they're just not, or moments like that where I'm not aware, being self-aware. I'm just more so listening to a song, enjoying something, and not digesting it fully, or the what the meaning of it is to me.
Yeah, it's good. Do artists, musicians have a moral obligation?
I just want to say no. And do you want to know why? Because it it just really upsets me. There's a lot of stuff we can bring up, a lot about Britney. I think that's a good thing to focus on. It'll keep me on topic. um there are a lot of parents and parent groups who came after Britney because of her, how she was displaying herself. They didn't see it appropriate, and they were mad that their children were watching it. And something I love that Britney said is like, "I'm not your children's babysitter. I, I'm not here to make sure your kids are okay. Like I'm a pop star." So I do not believe they have a moral obligation. I think if they're conscious about their star power and what their music does to people, and they use that for good, um I believe that that's just a plus. That's just an added bonus. It's not like they're obliged to be moral, or follow an ethics code. They're just being creative. You can't hate on somebody. You can hate on somebody who's creative, and their creative pursuits, for being not meaningful enough, or not moral enough. But at the end of the day, they're the ones who are out there making creations and putting it in the universe for us to enjoy. So we're just kind of hating from the outside, rather than appreciating, well, they took the time to do something, and what are you doing? Why are you so busy judging them? Like they're making art. At least go, don't get all mad about everything, and just go make your own art. If you make something, respond to them with art. If you really want to respond to them and say, you're not moral, here's an art piece. you know because it's all about, like, if you're in the bull ring, then everybody else hating on you is just outside the bull ring.
Yeah. It's amazing you brought up the word hate, because it's such and it's a word that's thrown around a lot. Is hating more innate or more invented? Like, is it culturally learned, or is it in us innately to hate?
I would say, like, the human part of us. I don't think we're completely just like humans. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's all we are. So the part of us that's humans, I think it's definitely innate to have hate, for sure.
Yeah.
I do.
Are you more afraid of new ideas or more afraid of old ideas?
Bold ideas.
Wow.
As a
Can you
gay man, an old idea is like, yeah, oh, what's next? Am I gonna get, like, someone gonna beat me up and tie me on a pole on a freezing night, and I'm gonna be dead in the field? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, okay, old ideas. Oh shoot, am I gonna die now? Like, no.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you Jett, this is really good. I appreciate your time, and you're really doing great. Can you conjure up your earliest memory ever, or one of them?
Yeah. I remember being born. I remember my first moment on the planet. So the memory is, when your eyes are shut, and just like this, I have a light for lighting, because I know that's good for the video. So when you have your eyes shut and you see the light coming through your eyelid, that's my first memory ever. And I knew I came out that moment because it it, it was just a moment of start. There were no thoughts. It was completely fresh, but it was like bang. And I came out of the stomach peeing. So I have like this feel, and I have very vivid memories from like before the age of 5, like that people don't normally have. So I really do trust that it was my first moment alive, and I completely remember it for sure.
That's heavy. You know what? Paranoia Critical, Salvador Dali, the great surrealistic painter, talks about this. And you should try it sometimes because it's an amazing phenomenon. It's like when you're a kid in school and you rub your eyes and you see like patterns, that's part of it. What you were doing was almost anticipating what that is. If you stare at the sun with your eyes shut and you go like this, it will it can almost put you into a trance state. Like
Wow.
you can buy these little shutter things to put over your eyes, and they flicker in front of your eyes with your eyes shut, so the light is actually seeping through a little through your eyelids.
Okay, very cool.
And it is an amazing thing. He talked about it a lot in his pursuit of surrealism in art. Do you think memory is more a curse or more a blessing?
Blessing
Yeah.
for sure.
Tell me someone within your immediate family and then outside your immediate family, just briefly, who had an impact on you, was sort of like a role model. And what specifically did you get from them?
Is immediate family like grandparents, mom, dad, sister, brother,
Yeah,
and
you can, again, you can define it. Yeah, yeah.
my
What
my
that's
uncle, like uncles count and stuff like that?
yeah, uncle. Yeah.
Okay, well let me just think who influenced me the most in my family. Say my mom for sure. I spent the most
What
time with my mom out of everybody, so my mom influenced me the most for sure.
what did you get from your mom the most, you think?
My sense of fun, and that's what I got, and I think how that shows up is my personality and my enthusiasm. So I think I got my enthusiasm from my mom for sure.
Yeah. So outside your immediate family, anyone who had an impact on you, and what was that impact?
uh, it was my life coach Susanna Estrada Gehring. She was the largest impact on my life outside of my immediate family for sure.
What did you get from her? What age did you encounter her? Are you still with her?
I don't work with Susanna at the moment. We do still we chat a little bit here and there. We'll always be connected. I started working with Susanna when I was 19, and I finished when I was perhaps 23. And
And what
we were on and off, but we were for that period of time.
but what did you get from her? Because like some people don't even know what is a life coach. Did
Mhm.
you pursue her, or did someone say you got to get her? You got to get a life coach. Tell us, suss out what happened there, and what did you get from her mainly?
Yes, I started listening to podcasts. The universe presented to me as a sign of where I needed to go in life, the path I needed to follow. And so I listened to a lot of podcasts that were led by life coaches, and that got in my head. I want to get a life coach. So I started talking about it, said to myself, I'm going to make this happen. And through a series of coincidences and kismet, I was on the phone with a beloved friend who I admire and see as somebody who is like a role model as a friend, and was talking to her. And I was telling her about how I was listening to these podcasts about life coaches, and that I was looking for a life coach. And she told me her mom was a life coach. So, and this is like one of my most spectacular, ethereal friends. And I just was like, I can get your mom to train me, and like I can be somewhat similar to you. Because this friend, I mean, seriously, she's an angel, And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get your mom. Yeah, like no, your mom. And the mom was very like when we had our first call, she was kind of like, like we're a lot different in age. I'm not gay. I don't know about gay issues. Like, are you sure we're a good fit? And I was like, listen, like I think we're gonna be a great fit. And so what I really got out of Susanna was Because she helped me instill in myself doing things that I say I'm gonna do. So if I say I'm gonna do it, and there are a lot of things I say I'm gonna do, more likely than not now, because of Susanna, I do them. So that's something cool. Especially like
Yeah.
creatively. Like she really got me back on my YouTube channel. She really got me making YouTube videos again, writing, and being creative. Um, and even like making she made me better at like making my bed, very simple, small, easy things, um really practical things, but she really gave me tools to do what I say I'm gonna do.
It's good. Were you raised a particular religion?
Yes, I was raised Christian, but then luckily my dad was atheist, and I say luckily because I appreciate diversity. I don't like being in non-diverse environments. So I was raised very open-minded, you know, to be open-minded.
Do you pray?
Mhm. Mhm.
If God exists, what would you like God to say to you after you die?
Come on, Jet, we're gonna watch the movie of your life. This is gonna be awesome.
That is good. You mean God has a theater up there? That's cool. The movie of your life.
Yep.
Do evil people exist, or does
Yes.
evil use people as a vehicle?
No, evil people exist for sure. They do.
How do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, Jed, I'm going to set it up with a few modern thinkers' thoughts. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola stole from The Mob and the Samurais, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. JFK said, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And Fellini says, I need an enemy. So it's a lot of thoughts. The basic question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, how would you respond to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
Mhm. Amen. Yeah. Totally believe it. I like to say thank you to those haters. So I understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, it's like if you just want to acknowledge that person who's your enemy and come back at them with, wow, like I see where you are, and I just want to say, like, I really appreciate the fact that you're even talking about me, because that just means I'm doing something right, because my name is in your mouth. So I'm winning, you know?
That is good. But it's like Ram Dass said it well. He says, "I'm having a real hard time loving George Bush or fill in the blank. Like I'm having a hard. How do you love your enemy? I mean, that's a hard thing, isn't it?"
Yeah, you know, there's this Frank thought that I want this coming to mind, but I really respect the Jewish culture and people. So I don't want to get it wrong. So, but I just want to like be honest about that. I don't want to get it wrong, so I'm not going to bring it up.
Yeah,
But basically, like, you know, there's always an opportunity to love people.
yeah.
There's always that opportunity. It's always a choice. You know.
But did you get that on your own, or how your parents raised you?
Um. I'm just thinking of like my dad and just anybody who's his enemy, and I'm just thinking of him cursing out so many people I can think of, in my childhood. So that's what I was thinking of. I
Yeah,
think I definitely got it more from my mom, you
yeah.
know. And then with my dad, I think with him I got more so the ability to not be to be like the core of your own universe and not have, if you sit in that space a lot, it's hard for people to shake you as much. So I think I got that from my dad, being very centered in that way. And then from my mom, I really got that perspective of kill them with kindness.
Nice. I love that.
Mhm.
So James Joyce was the first projectionist at the first movie theater in Dublin, Ireland, over 100 years ago. He basically checked out. He said, "This is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree?" Years later, William Faulkner said, "Sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism." Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life?
Mhm. Mm. I think the there's a healthy amount of dissociation that happens when you watch a play or an art piece, a movie, a TV show. It isn't reality, and that's kind of the benefit. You're able to get out of your own body and live through someone else's experience, which there's a healthy level of like kind of like pain reduction in a way. Maybe that's emotional, maybe that's your physical, you know. Because I like this past year I started getting tinnitus for the first time, which is like ringing in the ears all the time. And so like through my research, I did research on people with chronic pain as well. And sometimes there really is a healthy amount of distraction and like your brain going into another movie, watching another movie, and not 100% having that internal focus can be a form of healing. Of course, if you're on watching too much TV, if you're watching, and not living enough of your own life, that's when it's a problem. But I think that's why we need to have these art forms so that we can have a healthy amount of dissociation.
Great words. I appreciate that. Um, what first now, if we were at a party and I met you, I says, "What do you do?" What would you say? You told me environmental science.
Hmm. Yeah.
But what, is that your career or your calling?
Mm. So Elizabeth Gilbert in Big Magic, her book Creative Fear Beyond, uh, creative living beyond fear. Um, she says you I'm paraphrasing, you support your dream doesn't support you. So I
Yeah.
live by that because she's one of my favorite authors. So my what I do is something that is going to give me security in life to have my needs met, which is environmental science. And also, at the same time, I was lucky and had the privilege to choose a career path through, after college, and follow the path of what I studied in school. And I had that privilege. And one of the nice parts is I know it's helping the earth. So maybe it's not necessarily my passion because I know that I want to have more funds available so that I can fund artistic projects, have time to not work, and earn enough to buy real estate so that I can have forms of passive income. So really my passion is more being creative, more writing, making YouTube videos, making music, playing music, doing art. And that's actually where I'd like to be towards the latter part of my life. I'd like to switch over more towards that. But in the meantime, I was really lucky to be able to go to college and to be able to pick a career, So, and I'm really lucky that that's environmental science. So I am lucky to also be passionate about, my day job, but I definitely would say I'm a little bit more so passionate about things I do, such as like making YouTube videos, being creative, stuff like that.
Yeah. But that's very interesting because usually I would ask you what's your aspiration. So you really laid that out clearly. But what attracted you to the arts growing up where you go, well, I want to do that myself, rather than you use the word passive and active? Because there's a great poet line, Auden says, the mystery of art is that we don't know if it activates or pacifies us. But, in your case, you're saying, I want to do art because it activates you. But,
Right.
there's this thing where, well, we can just veg out and watch people do art in front of us and we don't have to be active. You're saying you're a dancer, you're a writer, you want to make music, make YouTube videos. That's like all the art forms, filmmaking, you know. So, I mean, did your parents raise you taking you to art museums or going to movies or going to concerts? Did they nurture a love of the arts or did you pick that up on their own? Where was that tipping point where you were going, I'm not just going to watch this, I want to do it?
Right. Well, music and movies and film and books and art were all very important to my family. My great grandma got her associates in music. My dad was a guitar player. He was a sound engineer for a lot of bands. He worked with people like Pat Benatar, Stevie Nicks. Um, that's what comes off the top of my head. And then my mom was um, very always exposing us to new music and having us listen to 311 and No Doubt and Moby as kids, which I think was very important to be exposed. And our parents didn't censor us on anything, so we were allowed to watch. Like our dad showed us Rocky Horror Picture Show at the age of 7, and then when I was 14 and the play was happening in town, he had me audition, and I was 14 in like drag. So and my dad, we started cello at the age of 3, then until 5, and then from 5 to 14 I was doing piano, and we were forced to do that. There wasn't an option. Like if we were playing with our friends and we hadn't practiced that day, it was like, cursing on the phone, get over here, right now, like him pulling up, driving, like picking us up, get in, we're going to play piano. um and we took tons, just so many different types of lessons. My dad really, it was forced, and also if we wanted to do art or we wanted to do something with dance, he would provide the funds for us to do that, which wasn't. He was a truck driver, so it wasn't. There weren't unlimited funds, but he definitely like made sure he prioritized us taking a lot of art classes and lessons. So
Yeah,
um, it definitely was something that was fostered in me as a kid, my creativity for sure.
it's beautiful. Well put. So, screenwriting teacher told me great art, great YouTube video, great dance is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Stanley Kubrick says the opposite. Great art is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. What role does intention play in your creative process?
Hmm. Well, I would say intention is what keeps me going in my creative process. With my YouTube channel, I set the intention. For some videos, I have a very clear intention and it's pretty obvious. But the overall intention for my whole channel at the moment is to be consistent and to um distribute media regularly. And my right now I focus on having a new video every 2 weeks, no matter the quality of the video. Sometimes it's a video that I spent 15, maybe 18 hours on. Sometimes it's literally just a clip of a video. And so I use intention in a few different ways. But I think as far as those quotes go, something that I thought of while you're saying that was two things actually. It it helps to make an intention, of a video and to have an intention that really does become obvious. And the videos that I do have an intention for, I'm very proud of and they're very cool. And but the nice part about not knowing the intention of the creator is it's a sign that there was space in the art for you to put your own intention. Like, well, to maybe kind of you have to guess for yourself what the intention was. And really it once an artist releases something, it's for the public to consume and it's kind of out of their hands. So in a way that is a huge part of the art that's happening is someone's receiving the art and viewing the art. So in a way they're able to perhaps set like their own intention, in the art for
That was good. I've actually said what you just said for years. Once an artist creates their art, it's no longer theirs. It's
yeah.
the user. They can do whatever they want. And if the artists say you're misusing my art, that you don't have control. You can't say you can't use that way. They can use it. That's like John Waters rooted for the Wicked Witch of the West when he saw Wizard of Oz. Most people didn't root for the Wicked Witch. They rooted for the Good Witch. But was there something wrong with that? No, he just did it. He became a famous filmmaker. So, but when Marcel Duchamp, great French artist, said there's no art without an audience. How much are you thinking of your audience when you're making your YouTube video? Like,
so it's very interesting. I really recommend the book Big Magic: Create a Living Beyond Fear by Elizabeth Gilbert, because every time we've been talking, I keep thinking about this book. I always make sure that number one, I'm making the video, and I can't be perfect about this, but my top goal is to make the video for me. And if no one likes it, that's fine, because I'm the one who's proud of it for some reason, whether that be because I did it, period, or because I did it well. But then second of all, I do think of my audience. I try to hone in on who my audience is, what my demographic is, and kind of try to make content that attracts a certain audience. A lot of my videos, I put in the word gay, or put in the hashtag gay, or make it some type of gay topic, because that will help me get more like of a gay audience, because that's just an easy crowd for me to go to. I understand what it's like to be a gay guy. I understand what gay people like to consume generally, more so than a straight person, especially like a straight man. So I do secondarily think about the viewer for sure.
No, that was beautiful, because it is like Frank Zappa said, I don't make music for myself. And if people like it, great. But in the big picture, he was romanticizing it. And I'm not criticizing him. I'm just saying he really knows there is an audience. If he hits these notes and says these words, they're going to buy his music and he's going to be able to make more music. So you can't, if you live in a consumer capitalistic society, you can't ignore that. And it's just like, but I'm curious, just a tech question on your YouTube. Do you buy cameras, or do you shoot most of your videos with an iPhone? And then did you self-teach yourself editing? Like, do you do Final Cut Pro, Premiere? What format do you use for editing, and how did you learn that?
Yes, I do the most basic type form of making videos. I use iPhone, and then I use iMovie. And those
I use iMovie. But did you learn iMovie on YouTube tutorials, or did someone teach you iMovie editing?
I started using iMovie when I was 11 and just learned how to use it by playing with it, and Google YouTube videos as well. Definitely, that was great supplemental.
Tutorials help you. You were self-taught basically through tutorials.
Yeah.
So McLuhan says that everything we invent extends some humanness. Like, Clothing extends our skin. Knife and fork extends our teeth. You know, the shutter in a camera is extension of our eyelid. In like maybe religion or philosophy, non-tangible things that are extension of our consciousness. What does the iPhone extend for you? What humanness?
It is an extension of my social life. It puts me in a setting that where I'm connecting with people, but it's virtual and it's not actually happening in real life, but it is, real interaction that does result in, making new friends, meeting new people, sometimes, but most of the time it's just, people you're socializing with on the internet. So
Is perception reality?
in that moment, when you're perceiving it.
That's good.
uh,
So I talked to a famous Hollywood movie director like 40 years ago when MTV just first started. And he made a documentary on a Russian rock star, and I says, "Why do MTV rock video makers feel so obliged to edit fast? You know, this rapid montage." Most people don't know Abel Gance invented rapid montage in 1922, but it really flourished in the 80s with MTV. Marty Scorsese even said, "I cut my films faster because of MTV." And Michael Apted, the director, said, "Well, people have," I says, why are they so obliged to edit fast? He says, "Because people have learned to take in information faster." So I asked this question with a bias. Can humans literally learn to take in information faster, or are we just brainwashed to believe we can?
Wait, I never knew people thought we were taking in information more quickly. I don't
Well,
think.
yeah, that's the question. Can humans learn to take in information faster if it comes at them faster? You know,
I think so, but I mean, I think if you like build that muscle of like learning, you get better at learning. But the problem
yeah,
is, I mean, we're getting this information from this technology, right?
yeah,
So, like the internet. The problem is like the technology is like interfering with like our stress levels and our sleep, which is what helps us really strengthen that muscle of learning. So the thing is like, yeah, maybe if if it didn't get in the way of sleeping and our stress levels, maybe it would help us learn faster. Or if you're super healthy and to the extreme where you're getting great sleep, you're really managing your stress and you're also using your phone to help you learn, like, then yeah, but you also just you got to work harder to learn faster because with the technology, because we're more stressed because of this strange stimulation, and we're not getting as much sleep, so we're that's making us more dumb for sure.
yeah. Well put, Jet. And the real hidden question is, can humans literally multitask?
No. Mm-mm. No, I don't think. I'm pretty sure there's no such thing, but we love to brag about how well we can do it.
We
Yes.
can't do it, but we love to brag about how we can do it.
Yeah.
That is you're an observant human. Did you get straight A's in college and high school?
Oh, no, 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 no,
Wow.
no. My freshman year I did, and then I was like, "Well, it didn't make my life 100 times better like I thought it was, so what was the point of that?" Like, I'm in college, let's chill, you know?
What college did you go to?
UC Denver.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was a great school. I went to started off Community College of Denver first 2 years, then the last part did UC Denver.
What's the motive of the cave artist? What do you think? What's your hunch?
I think they were just bored and wanted to have fun. I'm
That's
pretty sure didn't they, like, find, like, um I know in, like, from, like, on Roman some old Roman artifacts, some old Roman buildings, like, there's, like, like, carvings of, like, penises, because people were just the same way, we're just bored and just drawing penises, what I'm
yeah,
saying? So,
yeah,
I think, a little bit of boredom, just, like, do something fun, do something different, creative, and I think that's the nice part about being human and having these, what type of thumbs? What do they call them?
I don't know, but I know what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can make stuff with these hands. So,
yeah,
I think it's just us using the environment just to have fun, just to
yeah,
create fun.
yeah. That was good. The Aborigines in
Opposable thumbs.
what is it?
Opposable thumbs.
Opposable thumbs. Yeah,
Opposable thumbs.
yeah. Um, the Aborigines in Australia have no word for boredom. Do you think they still get bored?
I think they just appreciate it more.
Yeah.
They appreciate the boredom.
They
And
get bored, but they know how to process it as not a yeah.
for us, we're addicted, to entertainment and I mean, being in the US, we're more inclined to be. I don't know about you. I can't speak for you, but being in the US, it's more likely that we're going to be addicted to sugar, entertainment, stimulation, so
Yeah.
um bored is like a disease here.
That's a good chance to ask this question about taste, and that's Igor Stravinsky said most people don't know what they like what they know. So, kids are grown up with this big treat going to McDonald's, and you go, what's your favorite meal? And they don't go, my mom's homemade spaghetti. They go, McDonald's. So this is like a taste thing. And it's funny, I'm using that example for taste. My friend who does music says the three T's: theory, technique, and taste. So theory, you can learn, what chords are doing or harmony. And then technique is you can learn how to do that on your cello or your guitar, play the notes. But how does one acquire taste in like the arts? Like you gravitated towards Brittany, your friends gravitated towards something else. How does one acquire taste?
mm. My brain went a lot of places there. And feel so I'm going to kind of respond, but feel free to redirect me,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, no, that's what it's all about, is just go off. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing with Britney is I mean, I listened to Britney as like a 3-year-old, and my mom would put her tennis skirt on me and we would just dance around the house and blast the music. We would listen to the Backstreet Boys too. So definitely there's more of that familiarity. Funny enough, I don't remember, the Backstreet Boys lyrics or the NSYNC lyrics because I was more attracted to Britney for sure. Um, and so it's kind of like we like what we know. So a lot of the times people when you meet people, you're talking, they're like, who's your favorite artist? And having loved Britney since the beginning of my love of music, like my love of music is almost goes hand in hand with my love of Britney Spears. So I just say a lot like, "Who's your favorite artist?" Let me I mean, who's really my favorite? Let me think. Britney, pretty obviously. And the thing is like my love of her and reasons why I listen to her sometimes was a lot because of familiarity. And sometimes I felt guilty when I was younger saying Britney's my favorite artist, not knowing a lot of her music actually, and just knowing a lot of the huge hits that like I remembered, is very like vivid memories. So even as like in high school, I would go back to her early 2000s music. I would go back to like her 90s music, and like learn the lyrics and really get familiar with it, because I didn't ever want someone to come at me and like turn on the radio and be like, "Oh, you said Britney's your favorite. You love her." And then like I just like stand there awkwardly and don't know the lyrics, you know? So I think a lot of my love of like my taste does come from familiarity. And there are so many songs when you first hear it, you don't like it. But the thing is, you get a memory of it, or like there's a memory that's attached to that song. And a lot of the songs I really love are because there's a memory, like I love them because there's a memory attached to that song. So I really do connect with we we love what we know, you know, and we
Yeah,
don't.
but being familiar, my friend calls it, you develop an aesthetic for what you're immersed in,
Yeah.
you know, the immersion. But maybe it'd be a good moment to just go into, because I mean, what Jay, who introduced us, Jay and Courtney introduced us, they said you were in the Free Britney movement. So maybe just briefly, like, what, when did you enter it and what did it entail, and then do you feel that it was victorious or is it still ongoing? Because I mean, I watched that New York Times doc and I was like really intrigued by it, and it was really well done. And I mean, I figure you were all happy with the doc, and then, you know, just suss out your involvement in that movement. I mean,
Yeah. So I have a stamped date of when I first became aware that something was wrong, because I messaged one of my favorite Instagrammers. She started a series called Britney 911 and was just like posting Britney's stuff and being like, yo, something's off. Like, what do we got to do? We got to pull up in a car and just say, hey, Britney, jump in. Like, we'll take care of you. What do we got to do? Um, and so I remember messaging her and saying, oh my gosh, thank you so much for talking about this and bringing awareness to this. So that was 2018. And I can't fully remember exactly where I was on my information or my knowledge, but that's when I knew something was up, something was off. Then 2019 is when I officially remember, like I knew exactly what was going on. There was a conservatorship. Britney Spears didn't have her rights. We were all lied to that her father was put in, you know, we were all lied to that she had a comeback and that she had the successful Vegas residency. It was really a disaster, and it was a um, attack on her human rights. And it was a human rights issue, not a successful career. And so then I flew out the first time to Los Angeles, January of 2020, to the Stanley Moss Courthouse for the hearing. It's hard for me to remember exactly what those hearings were about, because sometimes the hearing was even just about paperwork or just bringing up receipts. And then sometimes it was like, get rid of the dad, you know? So it was like, there's a wide variety of what the court cases were about. But the first time I went was January 2020. And then I went again that summer of July 2020. And then I did not go again until last November when she was free. So I was there for the moment when she became free, huge celebration. And then in Denver, I started the Free Britney Denver Instagram. So I believe it was like 3 or 4 rallies for Free Britney. I held one that was just for Amanda, because Amanda Bynes is also in a conservatorship. Um, and to go back to your kind of question a little bit, I think this was successful. Holy moly, was it successful? Yes. It is like beyond more successful than I thought it would be. I didn't see her becoming free this soon. The documentary really did it. And then if anything is not successful, the only thing would be to mention is that there are so many people in conservatorships right now who are being abused, and a person right now in a conservatorship is Bynes, and there are people like Amanda. She's just like Britney. She stated she doesn't want to be in it. So really, I think for Britney, in her Britney's case, total success. She's free. great to see. Only thing is we got to free more people, you know. It's and
So
so
yeah, it raised the awareness on conservatorships because McLuhan has a great point about anything humans invent. They have services and disservices. Conservatorships do work for some cases in when you're old, but it's something new to take over these big, huge money making. I mean, you got to hear this. I remember when Brittany's dad started a taco stand in Venice, California. Like we,
uh-huh.
Venice, California is just like two little streets, the downtown, but it's the whole
Yeah.
boardwalk. But
Yeah.
right there in downtown Venice, that little, right where the Venice sign is, that little corner, that was like, hey, that's Britney Spears' dad's taco stand. I was like, what? Really? I mean, that was years ago.
Yeah.
And then this came up. So, but wasn't there a second Britney doc after the New York Times one also?
There was a second New York Times documentary which I was in for like just 1 second. It was controlling Britney Spears, and then there was a third documentary on Netflix, Britney versus Spears.
How is that the Netflix film?
I just remember it. I don't remember very specifically. I just remember I liked it. I enjoyed it. The thing with these videos and this like information is it doesn't stand out because we've been doing so much research for years. It's just kind of like refreshing information, so it doesn't stand out in our brains as like, oh, that was a memorable part of the movie. There aren't as
Right.
many of those because it's really just for the general public. It's probably much more memorable because it's like, what? Oh my god! For us, it's just like the information we've been like sputtering out for years. You know.
Did you see her? Have you ever seen her live?
Yes, I went to see her in Vegas twice. Yep.
How was it?
A dream come true, but you could also tell she was very robotic and maybe didn't want to be doing it.
Wow, you could sense that.
Oh, it was 100% because it's just like we were so close to her. Like you could get really close in Vegas. It was amazing. So that it was you can't take away from that thrill of being that close to Britney Spears, you know, and she's like
Right.
running towards you basically, you know, like and I was with my sister, you know, just the memories. You can't take away from that. But it was just like a lot of like move like she honestly just did that a lot. Like a lot of like oh like literally it was very robotic movements for sure.
Wow.
And she was just in heels the whole time. Like it was
Yeah.
like it looked painful, you know?
Wow.
Like to be forced to do that kind of work, it was some serious
Yeah.
work, you know? And I mean, I just think it's so creepy. Like the nature of her work is it can be very sexual, you know? So it's very weird that her
Yeah.
dad's the one pulling the strings and making the money off of the sexual nature of his daughter. Because I mean, I think that's something for Britney to capitalize off of and Britney to make money off of. That's totally her thing to do. But the fact that her dad's the one pulling the
Yeah.
string for all this sexual behavior from a dad, like that's just the wrong relationship, you know? And I'm going off
Well,
on
it's a deep history in entertainment in America because if you study the Judy Garland story, they started pumping her with drugs when she's like a 10 young teenager and say,
oh yeah, the
I mean,
barbiturates.
you can, it's well documented. And then, here, anyways, it is sad when higher ups take advantage.
It really
It,
is.
it's child labor. I mean, we've had child labor in America. They finally, I used to ask this question about how Lewis Hines photographs of child labor in newspapers in America made people like, what? And it changed the child labor laws. You can't have kids doing that in factories. That's pretty powerful,
Yeah.
And so it is great when humans stand up because I know you have Black Lives Matter stuff and you've talked about, just unfairness and issues. So I'm happy you have that. So this question is more general, but what's more important, conviction or compromise?
Looks like maybe we have a guest popping up. Okay, no.
Oh, Rob might he if he has a question, we'll have to come in. But yeah.
Nice, nice. In like what context?
Yeah, well that's it. You put in the context you want. I mean, it's hard. These two questions, like that's the question I started with like 40 years ago. My friend said, "What's more important, conviction or compromise?" Here's my Yeah, go ahead.
I just think it depends on how much you like how much conviction you have, and also how often you've been compromising lately. If you've been compromising a lot, maybe it's time to follow that conviction and not
Yeah.
just let people, steer you all the time. Sometimes a lot of the times you have to compromise, but if it's been too much and you're kind of at that breaking point and or you don't want to get to that breaking point, like, take some action in your life, direct
Yeah.
the show.
Well, the cliche is the journey is more important than the destination.
Right.
Why do we have to name a destination or have a destination if the journey's more important?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's not about how fast I get there. It's not what's waiting on the other side. It's the climb. That's Miley Cyrus.
So, a poet, T.S. Eliot, said that poetry is outing your inner dialogue. What language is your inner dialogue in?
Well, I mean, if you're talking literally, like I do learn like languages, so every now and then, like it's English mostly, and then if there's a next language, it would be Spanish, and then a lot less French, and then every now and then there's some Italian.
That's pretty good, but it wasn't so much literal. What
That's
form
what I
is
kind
your
of was guessing,
Yeah.
but that
Well,
is
what form but that was fine. What form is your inner consciousness in? Like, more metaphorically, what language is your inner voice in?
oh, like can you give me an example of that one? That's a good one. I want to answer it. I just
Oh,
want to.
my favorite answer ever was this great filmmaker in New York. She goes, "I wish I knew." But,
Right,
people say, "Oh, it's in TV commercials or it's in music or it's my mother's voice," or, it's sort of a fun question because we all have this little thing in our head and it seems to be a voice, but
right.
it could take the form of another form than just English language.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty general about it, so I think just consciousness is like literally like everything. Like
Yeah,
just that's what I think it is. So I
yeah,
think whatever way, everything you see, all the information you're getting, everything you feel, it's all like consciousness, I think.
yeah.
So
That's good.
it's it is a language that can be spoken by everybody. It's a universal language.
Oh, very good. I like that because
Yeah.
that's what consciousness is. We
Yeah.
wanna think that yeah. So Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland says, "I believe as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast." Have you believed in any impossible things lately?
Well, I mean, first thing that comes to mind is tinnitus, because it doesn't bother me as much as it used to, but every now and then I really do believe like I'm gonna find a way to get rid of it. When in all reality, it's more so just one of those things where your brain just gets used to it. But I still believe sometimes because it's not really curable. You kind of can try, but it's not very curable. So I guess that's something I've believed. Um,
That's good. My friend is a pro musician in Sweden, and they flew him to Florida to help. He's had it really bad, and
yeah,
I don't know how much it helps. It's like how much see, in Western medicine say, "We have a cure." Eastern medicine says, "How do you maintain your body?" So there's remedies that can help, but there's not the cure thing is sort of hard, but it doesn't mean you can't pursue it. Because
right.
you're pursuing a more effective remedy, but if you want to call it a cure, go ahead. But you're pursuing it. You can't
Right.
give up and just surrender to it. I mean, my arm is starting to hurt, but not always. And
Right.
I threw a football for like 30 years with my friend. And
Yeah.
then COVID, I stopped. For 2 years, I stopped throwing the football. And then all of a sudden I get this pain in my arm and I goes, was it because I stopped throwing the football? I don't know. So,
Right.
I'm thinking today, well, what am I supposed to do about this? Go to some physical therapist, or like, how am I going, and I still move it and it doesn't hurt, but it's curious how, like what do they say caused your tonight? Do they tell you there is sort of a cause, or do you just got it?
Yeah. As far as hearing goes, like hearing loss, there's nothing that is they can't prove it all that it was caused by hearing loss because I have like perfect hearing. Um, and then I have jaw issues, which is TMJ, and your jaw is directly connected to your middle ear. So if you have problems with your jaw, that inflames your auditory
Yeah.
nerve. So that's something that they told me. And so the thing is like I can get braces for alignment again. Because I actually think I had these braces called Invisalign, and there's actually like a chance it can mess up your jaw more. And I got the tinnitus during the Invisalign, so there's a chance like the Invisalign like mess up jaw more. But I can get braces, correct my alignment. I can basically like get a whole new mouth where they'll just give me a restorative mouth restoration for my jaw alignment. There's physical therapy which I've done. There's stretches, um, and so I can literally get Botox and like put it in my the muscles in here to help them relax. Um, I have been prescribed a muscle relaxer, for that TMJ muscle issue, a very non-addictive one. Yeah, so they exactly like they're like, there are some ways where like, okay, maybe if you do this, there will be a cure, but mostly it's just like managing, so like,
Managing, yeah.
yeah.
Managing is like the word remedy, and it's a curious thing because that's the main thing we study in studying Marshall McLuhan is causality. Humans think that they can figure out the cause.
Hmm.
And you can't figure out the cause of anything. We think we can, and we
Right.
can approximately get it sort of close, but there's so many elements
Right.
that it's looking at the big picture. So Moshe Feldenkrais has done this good. You should look into him about your tinnitus. Moshe Feldenkrais works with healing and movement. If you break your back, eventually you're going to go to Moshe. It's a funny name, but check him out. Really important in healing. And it's like natural healing in movement. And he says it's literally possible to identify a weakness and incorporate it to become a strength rather than we're usually taught to overcome a weakness. And this is more metaphorically in general. Tell me a weakness that you've turned into a strength.
Well, I mean, I guess this tinnitus stuff really is just very makes sense right now to bring up. So at first, I was very anxious, just a ball of anxiety for a few months. And what I did was I had to make my life louder than tinnitus. So I had to amp up my social life. I amped up my career. I just graduated, so I really focused on like building a great career because I was like, well, I can't just sit at home all day and just be thinking about tinnitus, and like I can't not have my brain engaged in some way.
Yeah.
So because of the tinnitus, my social life is like better than it's ever been. And my career is really exciting and in a great place. So it taught me to, it's like what I always quote Sheryl Crow. It's not having what you want, it's wanting what you got. So I really, looked at what I could control in my life and really amplified that part of my life for sure, which was a
Yeah.
strength.
Really good, Jet. You really got that question, answered it well. Fill in the blank. Anger can be a productive emotion when
When you're fighting for something you believe in.
beautiful.
Hey, how's it going?
Nice. Hey, what's up? Go ahead, Jerry.
No, go ahead, Rob. You got one?
Canadian standoff. I like it. Jet, you're a drummer, right?
No, I play piano.
Okay, piano.
Yeah.
Sorry. So, have you ever had an aha moment with music? Like you hear a song and it just you connect with it on a level that cannot be expressed in words.
Yeah.
Do you remember what song that was?
You know, the song that comes to mind is For Good from Wicked.
Oh yeah, man. I love Wicked.
Yeah. That song, For Good. And I just
Define gravity for me from that one. But yes, For Good.
Yeah.
Why that one?
It brings me to like that space where I feel my connection with my sister. She's like one of the most important people in my life, and it just like feels like a direct connection, you know, to my sister in a way. So
Twin sister or?
no, she's like younger, but we really are like twins, you know. She's in a way we're a lot like twins. So, but I'm a decent amount older, so definitely not for sure.
How much older? Just
2.5 years.
That's going to be the split between my two kids. So
Yeah.
good to know they could make it.
Yeah.
And how did you find piano?
Oh, it was forced upon me. Well, so we had to be like play a instrument. So my dad, we were playing cello. My dad was like, "What do you want to do next?" And I was like, "Oh, piano. That sounds fun." And then the rest of the years when we were forced to play it, I was like, "Why did I say that?" Like, you know. But also, it's like, what other instrument would I would have been forced to play something? So at least, you know, piano is pretty universal. So at least I picked that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about playing piano and the chorded strings and us connecting with it. Do you have this is my last question. Do you have a favorite piece to play?
So Clocks by Coldplay. That's my to-go song. And I get that flow feeling, that feeling of flow from playing that song, for sure.
And why do you think that is?
Because I know it so well that I don't have to think about it. I can get lost in it, and that part of my brain, that knowing part of my brain just takes over, and I can relax and just enjoying the music.
Is music for you, is it more play or is it more work? And the reason I ask this is because our brains, there's white brain matter and there's gray brain matter. I'm probably going to mess this up, but I believe gray matter is more associated to children and playfulness and their inventiveness, and white matter is more associated to adults and their more constructive, sort of focused thinking. So when we're doing an activity, like kids, they can solve problems a lot better than adults can because, you know, they're a complete stream of consciousness. Whereas adults think of things like laterally, right? Like this is the way things work. So for music, for you, is it more play or is it more work?
When I'm playing piano, it's more work in the beginning. Is like that's the warm up. You're using that part of your brain that it feels like a job. But then once you're warmed up and you get past that, you get in that flow state more often. And then once the song gets hard again, or you mess up, you know, you're not sure about the chords, you get a little bit more to that workspace. But it's kind of like you're playing and using that work, that focus, that work ethic to get to that state of like flow.
So there's like they're intertwined, you'd say.
Yeah, I think the, you know, it feeling like work is a vehicle to that flow spot, for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Rob,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
really good. No, but Rob, what you said, listen for a second. You play music. That's the amazing thing. All art aspires to the condition of music. That's Walter Padar. You know, like writing, literature, painting, sculpture, architecture, they all wish they could be as cool as music because you play music. But you do have to work at it. And both of you, if you haven't seen it, I really encourage you watch the Maria Callas documentary. She's the most important opera singer ever practically on earth. And she said, in order to be a performer, you have to have half your brain in control and half your brain out of control. That's a hard thing. That, you know, you can learn the technique. Like he said, they call it the flow state. You get to the flow. You can't just get to the flow state, without practicing and having some work, and learning it. But, anyways,
Yeah.
that was good.
Yeah, I mean, Ozzy Osbourne, at some point, he had to have practiced not being fucked up. I gotta fix something, Jett, before I go. Jerry, there, he's got the logo above his head.
Okay.
Yeah. Jett, thank you very much. I'm gonna step out now. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Nice talking with you.
Thanks for your channel. Yeah, we just got a few more here, Jett. It's really been fun. If you were walking down the street today and you met yourself as a 12-year-old, what would you say to your 12-year-old self?
I would say everything you want realistically is gonna happen by the time you're 25. So don't stress about it not happening. Enjoy your life and make a shit ton of YouTube videos. And twerking like Fergie was very important to me at that age. So I'll say, don't worry, you'll be able to twerk like Fergie once you're my age.
Dude, I met Fergie in an elevator for it was like 20 seconds. I'll tell you it because it was really funny.
Yeah.
We get in this elevator and my friend had just seen a doctor and we're talking and I look and she's there and I don't know who she is. And her husband, who's a famous actor too, is holding the kid.
Yeah, I know. I can picture who her husband is. Yeah.
Yeah. And me and my friend are talking and I'm saying something about the doctor. And she looks at us like, I need humanity in my life. I need to reach out and be conscious of other humans. She goes, well, what's the doctor's name? And we says, oh, we said the name. And then, oh, someone should make a documentary about him because he was raving how great a doctor he was. The doors open and that was the end.
That's
and
what
then
he said?
Huh? Yeah.
That's so cute.
Yeah. And so then I for like 4 days, I go, who was that? I couldn't figure it out because I just didn't know. I don't know her or the
right.
And then I did the research by probably YouTube and I figured out who she was.
Oh yeah.
And I was really intrigued by her life because I was going to bring her up earlier in our interview because she went through the same thing. She was in the Disney world as a youngster and they started pumping her with speed.
Yeah.
That's known, right? And they got her addicted,
Yeah, and then she's had like a meth problem eventually.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean that was very interesting. But
she's so cool.
Yeah, so a few more. How do you find peace of mind?
Yoga.
It's good. And how long have you practiced it? Did you do it on your own or did your mom got you involved or how did you learn the yoga?
My grandma got me into it. She was doing it and I was like, I want to do yoga. So I started doing it with my grandma. My grandma does it every day.
At what age? At what age did you start?
15. So it's about 9 years and some months now.
But that's amazing. But do kids start at 15? Is yoga more people start later in life, or did you find yourself a fluke that you were starting earlier than most people?
I was definitely starting earlier for sure, and I was proud of it. I hate to say it, but I was.
Hey, I wish I would have learned yoga early. I mean, I think yoga could save the world. I think it's amazing.
It's my world, that's for sure.
Yeah. Tell me something good you never had and you never want.
Well, I guess the need to be good.
That suss that out. What do you mean by that?
Well,
It's good. It's good you never had it and you never want it.
Yep. I just think about stuff like slut shaming and a lot of the witch hunt mentality we have in this country and the misogyny of thinking, being told we need to be prim and proper and follow the rules of society on many different levels. And in order to be accepted, be loved. But I just always knew that would diminish my light. So I didn't feel the need to diminish my light for other people.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just a couple more, Jett. This has really been fun. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
What's the cultural shift you see developing today that inspires you?
Well, just the leaps and bounds that the gay community that we're making in the culture and media is fantastic. The LGBTQIA plus because there can be a whole other list of alphabets, new letters every day. We keep them coming in, and just to be a witness for. I was born in a time where I luckily had some of the first round of parents who were really cool with kids being gay. So my parents, gave me my Barbies and they put me in nail polish and they let me dress around in skirts and just, be what you would think a gay kid would look like. They let that happen, and I remember when I was alive, I was able to see all people only being able to get civil unions and having to describe to my grandpa why civil unions weren't as good as getting married. You don't have the same amount of rights. So I got to see the transition from only being able to get a civil union to everybody being able to get married. And then on top of that, now the trans community it's their time to shine and they are getting more exposure and are being heard more and their stories being respected more. So it's amazing to be gay right now and to be a part of the cultural movement, the phenomenon of gay pride and just gay pride.
Yeah, that was really well put. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to do a bonus question because you're so fun and you really get where we're at about. This is five questions that Alan Watts asked. So just
by the way, my mom sends me like an Alan Watts podcast like every day. My mom is obsessed with Alan Watts.
Oh, good, because I was going to drop this, but he's fun and he's really an entertainer in a lot of ways and a comedian. He doesn't, it's fun. I've listened to him for years and I think he's important. But I love these 5 questions he asks, but they're just short and brief. Yeah. And I'm sort of asking you to answer them in just a few words. Just keep it down. Okay. Yeah. First one is, who started it all?
God.
Are we going to make it?
Yes.
Where do we put it?
In ourselves.
Who's cleaning it up?
Us.
Is it serious?
Well, and our children. And our children.
And our children. Good. Is it serious?
No. Not as much as you think it is.
Very good. Jett, this has been really fun. I appreciate it. Last question is, what gives you the most optimism?
The younger generations and seeing the conversations they're having.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the answer I get the most is youth, younger generations. Well, it's sure been fun because we're like 40 years different and it seems as though we're same age and we're buddies. So super fun.
There was a podcast the other day and at the beginning of the podcast is Whitney Cummings. She asked the guest before, and it's usually like a well-known celebrity. Like she asked the guest, are we friends? And it's kind of awkward, but the guest she had that came on was like, yeah, you know what? I'm not like someone who just says that easily, but I feel like after this conversation, we will be buds, you know? So I really feel like that. It was great getting to talk to you. You're a great person. And thanks for taking this time. It's really nice for anybody to feel seen or heard. So thanks for giving me this platform to speak on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it was great. And then we got to thank Courtney and Jay for hooking us up. So
Courtney and Jay, bless up.
Yeah. All right. Thanks again, Jett.
Oh, and can I just say, I know I really do want to say this. When I say God, I do want to be clear. When I say God, that's totally a universal thing, and that's just like a one easy word, it's just a little easy package to put in.
Totally understand. No worries. Totally
Last
understand.
little note I wanted to put in there.
Yeah, that's good. I appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, over and out. We'll see you in the cosmos. I hope our conversation continues forever and ever.
And forever and ever. Have a good night.